Victims of apartheid-era crimes are breathing a sigh of relief as the process has begun to establish a commission of inquiry into whether there was a political hand to block them from finding justice to the atrocities they endured, as revealed by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Former TRC Commissioner, Senior Counsel Advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza, who was pleasantly surprised by the announcement, has emphasized the need for a focused inquiry.
There needs to be a focus. This must not be a generalized commission of inquiry. The commission of inquiry should seek to establish one thing and one thing only, and that is, if it is so that there was political interference with the work of the NPA. Now, that is the issue.
This latest announcement from the President comes amid pressure from the families of victims of apartheid-era crimes who still long for answers. The unfinished business of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was thrust back into the spotlight earlier this year as 25 families and survivors of apartheid-era crimes brought an application to the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria against President Cyril Ramaphosa and his government, seeking constitutional damages for what they termed as the government's gross failure to adequately investigate and prosecute apartheid-era political crimes following the Truth and Reconciliation Commission process. These include the families of anti-apartheid activists known as the Cradock Four, when Ntsebeza notes that all known perpetrators have since died.
I am told, reliably told, that, for instance, in respect of the Cradock Four, Parumkonto, Alata, and Mhlauli, that all known or named perpetrators in that matter have since died. And that's unfortunate, because there doesn't seem to be any response to the question, why were those prosecutions not followed through?
This speaks to the travesty of justice in TRC-related cases as decades have passed, eliminating the option of reviving these cases. This miscarriage of justice burdens many families of anti-apartheid activists, including Ntsebeza, who reflects on the 1985 abduction and killing of his cousin Bathandwa Ndondo. This case has also not been prosecuted despite the known perpetrator being alive, prompting growing calls for accountability on what halted or delayed the prosecution on these kinds of matters when the opportunity existed 30 years ago to do so.
How does one remember the nitty-gritty of things that happened 30 years ago? That is where justice has become the casualty of this. And that is why it is important for those who are in charge, to tell us, why was there political interference with those in the NPA who wanted to do their job when once they were presented with evidence from the Amnesty Committee, where 300 cases came from where 300 cases came, and those cases were either for prosecution or for investigation, or for both investigation and prosecution.
Commissions of inquiry are a lengthy and costly exercise that often leaves South Africans fatigued in the pursuit of justice. Time will tell whether this inquiry will bring the necessary closure for the loved ones of anti-apartheid activists. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.